All right, math 3, I'm going to go through and re-explain a little bit how you solve each equation by factoring. We learned factoring in order to figure out your x-intercepts, which we talked about in class. It will either ask you for the roots, the solutions, the zeros. There's just a lot of ways for them to ask you to solve this. So all you're doing is trying to find the values of x that make it equal 0. So that's why we did our factoring. So you're going to say what multiplies to give me 18, but adds to give me -9 when you're doing something like this. And that is going to be a -6 and a -3. You set it equal to 0. Now that it's factored, in order to equal 0, you set each of the parentheses equal to 0. So you'll come over here and you'll say, well, the x minus 6 could equal 0, or the x minus 3 could equal 0, and then you just solve for x on each. So the two answers would be 6 and a +3. You can always double check your work. If you take 6, put it in. For the x's, you'll see it equals 0, and if you take 3, put it in, you'll see that it equals 0. All right, so coming over here, you're going to do the same thing. I'm trying to solve for the x's that make this equal 0. What multiplies to give us 4, but adds to get 5, that's 4 and 1. So you do x plus 1, x plus 4. And then again, you'll set each of the parentheses individually equal to 0, because that's your 0 property rule. If one of them equals 0, then the whole equation does. And then you subtract your 1, subtract your 4. So x could either equal a -1 or a -4. All right, here you have your difference squares. So again, what's going to cause that to equal 0? Well, that's n minus 8, n plus 8. And then when you set them each equal to 0, you get 8 and -8. And again, you can check it. 8 squared is 64. 64 minus 64 is 0. And -8 squared is also 64. So those are your two answers. All right, on this one, in order to factor, if you notice they both have a b, so we're going to pull a b to the outside, leaving me with a b plus 5 is equal to 0. So again, anything you have to, anytime you have your variable, set it equal to 0. So this one I'm going to set equal to 0. And I'm going to set this one equal to 0. Well, here's one of my answers. It literally is b is equal to 0. And this one I'm going to subtract my 5, and I get -5. All right, so those are how you're going to do that. Let's see. Let's go down to like number 9. When you have the variable, all of these that have a coefficient out front, you're going to multiply these to get your target number. So you're going to have -63. So you're thinking what multiplies to give you -63, but adds to give you a -18. And again, you can come off to the side and you can start, figuring out, doing our little tricks that we have done. But in this case, it's going to be your 3 and your -21 here. So those are the two numbers. So we need to go off to the side. We're going to do 3k over -21 and that 3k over 3. So that one simplifies down into k minus 7. And this one's going to be k plus 1. Now, so when you get to this point, there's one really crucial step I missed here. So if I am looking at this and I FOIL this back out, I'm going to look and say, well, how am I going to get a 3k squared if I just have a k and a k? And I come over here, yeah, that's simplified down. But if you notice both of these simplified down by 3, that's because way in the beginning, I could have pulled a 3 out of this equation. And if we had... I don't know why this keeps coming in and out here. If we had pulled a 3 out, you would have had a k squared minus 6k minus 7 is equal to 0. And then you could have seen, well, this is an easy simplify. What multiplies give me -7, adds to give me -6, and that would have been that. So if you notice both of these simplify down by the same thing, then that's probably the number you need out front. Now, when we're solving, that 3 means absolutely nothing. Remember, when we're actually solving the equation, we're trying to find the k's that make it equal 0. This 3 does not have any bearing on that answer. All right, if I asked you to factor, yeah, I need all of this as a factoring tool, but it doesn't make any difference because K is not pulled out to the outside. So I'm just looking at my K's here. I'm going to set each of my parentheses equal to 0. So the actual answer for this question is K could equal a positive 7 or a negative 1. And again, you'll always have as many you'll always have as many answers as your highest exponent. So that 3 really did not mean anything here. All right, let's come down to like 13, where I don't have it equaling 0. So you're going to force it to equal a 0. You want to keep your square to positive if possible. So you want to bring over your 16m and your 21. So I'm going to rewrite this as that. I'm going to bring over my 16m as a positive, and I'm going to add my 21 over. All right, now I'm ready, and I'm going to look. Can I pull anything out? Nope, can't make that any easier. So I'm going to get my target number. So you take the A times the C, which is 63, and I need to find two numbers that add to give me 16. All right, well, hopefully you guys all know by now it's 9 and 7. Okay, 9 times 7 is 63, adds to give me that, so I need to use my 3m. So I have my 3m over 9, my 3m over 7. So I'm going to come over here, put those into my parentheses, set it equal to 0. This simplifies down into m plus 3. And this one cannot, so it stays as a 3m plus 7. All right, now that I have my factors, I'm going to go set each of these equal to 0. So I'm going to say m plus 3 has to equal 0. And 3m plus 7 also has to equal 0. So to get my two answers, I'm going to solve for m here. So m could equal negative 3. I didn't give me much room on this one. I feel like I had more room on the other one. Negative 3. And on this one, I'm going to subtract my 7 to get negative 7 and divide by 3. So I get negative 7/3. So there are my two answers for that question. All right, let's do one more. I'm going to go ahead and do this one. I need to bring the 12 over. So I have 10x squared minus 26x plus the 12. I'm bringing it over as a positive. All right, looks like I can pull a 2 out to make it a little bit easier. I think that's my highest number. All right, so I'm going to pull a 2 out. I get 5x squared minus 13x plus 6 is equal to 0. I'm not going to worry about the 2 because I didn't pull an x out with it, so it makes no bearing on my answer whatsoever. So I'm just focusing on this. I get my target number is 30. All right, that's a 5 times 6. I need negative 13 here. So negative 10, negative 3. So I'm going to go put both of those under the 5x. So I have 5x, negative 10, 5x, negative 3. This one simplifies into x minus 2. This one is 5x minus 3 equals 0. Again, if I was factoring, I need to bring this 2 down to get the factor right. But again, to find my answers, to make it what equals 0, I just use my x's. So I'm going to have my 2 parentheses, set them equal to 0. 5x minus 3 is equal to 0. So I'm going to add my 2, so x could equal 2. And I'm going to add my 3 divided by 5, which is 3/5. All right, so that's how you do it. If it's already factored for you, like your IXL sometimes is, you're just going to jump right to the answer. So the beginning of your IXL, they're going to give you something like this, negative 7y, y plus 3 equals 0, and they're going to say solve that. Well, this one involves a y, so you'll say negative 7y could equal 0. Or y plus 3 could equal 0. You're going to divide by 7, leaving y with 0. Subtract your 3, and you get negative 3. Those would be your two answers. Another question might look like this. 2s plus 7. This might be a 5s minus 8 is equal to 0. Set them again, each equal to 0. 5s minus 8 is equal to 0. Solving this, you're going to subtract your 7, divide by 2, which is negative 7 over 2. Here you're going to add your 8 and divide by 5, which is positive 8 over 5. Those would be your two answers you would input. All right, and if they leave it as a problem like we just did on the back of this worksheet, then you need to factor it down into your parts, set it equal to 0 to get your answer. All right, good luck.